Welcome to class 2 of Kabbalah and Spiritual Self-Healing course number 2. It's called Spiritual Protections from Negative Energy. So we're just starting class number 2. And does anyone have any questions, any comments from what we did last time in the first class? Yes, Esther, please go ahead.
So forgive me if you went over this at the end of class, but you mentioned looking at your left nostril to keep yourself from doing the Ayin Hara on somebody. And I don't know if you went over that or not.
Well, we're going to actually do that today. That's actually where we get up to. I mentioned it because you asked about it, but
yes.
it's actually in today's, it's actually going to appear in today's class. Anyone else? We're going to get to it, but not in the beginning. It's going to come. It's in one of the sources. You're going to see it inside. I hope you have, there's 2 handouts for today. There's one which is the same that I gave you last time. And then there is also, in addition to that, there is a special prayer that we're going to say together that's a special protection against Ayin Hara that I also send you a little bit later. Okay, anyone else? Comment, questions? Hannah Ruth, if you have a camera, we would love to see your beautiful face.
Oh, thank you. Sorry, it's because my camera. I'm here. Yes. Well, I have one question about the exercise of the bubble. That we imagine inside the bubble. How many times?
Which one, the samach or the bubble?
The first, the bubble.
Yeah. What did I call it? I forget now. I called it something. The something bubble.
This exercise we must make each day, or it's when we feel something bad?
No, it can be any time. Like we just want, it's like brushing our teeth. We're putting a protection from us. What did I call it now? I forget. Help me. It was a particular bubble. Let's just see. I have to go back and see. It is always good to do it. You could do it anytime. Any of the exercise I give you, you could do anytime. Like preventive medicine is the greatest kind of protection, really. You know, because it's much harder once a person is stricken, whether physically or spiritually. It's much, much, much harder to get out of it. It's much easier, you know, when it's okay. When it's before anything happened, to protect oneself. What did I call it? Let me just see. The bubble. I'm just here. The light bubble, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. It says in the description of it, it's written that it's recommended to do it every morning. Like to, you know, if you have time.
Yes,
it's
in the prayers
to create energy protections for ourselves every day, every morning. Because we don't know what's going to be, who we're going to come across. We don't know when we're vulnerable and when there are people that maybe could send us negative energy. So if we protect us in advance, then that's good. Light bubble. Oh, you wrote it, Rivka. Thank you. You're good. Okay, any other questions, comments before I start?
Something that was kind of coming up for me last week during class. I was having trouble articulating it, but a lot of the sort of Ayin Hara things and judging and criticism and things like that, I've experienced a lot, and probably a lot of other people in this class have as well, like in the Jewish community, like in a soul setting where people have like, you know, big events trying to like show each other up and like, you know, kind of like putting themselves out like in front of people, and it makes it really awkward and uncomfortable. And I'm like, I guess I was trying to figure out like, okay, if those things are actually happening to you in a spiritual setting, what do you do about it? Like, how do you protect yourself from it and all that? I don't know. It was just kind of
When you feel at the moment that someone is giving you an Ayin Hara, is that your question? If you feel someone right now, I have the feeling they're giving me an Ayin Hara, what do I do right now? Is that it, the question?
Part of it. It's also part of like seeing, maybe it's that there are chunks of the Jewish community that don't really think about it so much about the concept, but where they'll sort of be like attracting that themselves. Like, like attracting people to feel uncomfortable to themselves.
I'm not sure I can understand you so well. Like it's a little bit muffled. The words.
Saying like, let's say somebody does like a big kiddush. I can say, for example, like a few years ago, we weren't able to have kids, and they would do like big like aliyahs for all the kids, and you'd kind of be left in the back of the room, like feeling really uncomfortable, and it's sort of, like things like that. I just feel I have a sense that a lot of us have experienced things like that in some format or another.
Feeling that you are in a situation where you could be jealous. Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying I don't know if it's that where I could be jealous, but where a lot of people are directing judgment straight at me, right? For being like the weird one out, for things that are beyond my control, right? Like I feel like that kind of stuff happens a lot, and I'm wondering how we deal with it, especially when we're actually in the spiritual zone.
But maybe part of it is in your imagination because you feel that way, and you
I'm not sure.
Maybe
I don't. I've actually been.
You actually what?
I actually used to get directly insulted by people for things like that. So, yeah, it wasn't in my imagination.
You say that people are sending you like negative energy, that you're the weird one?
Yeah. I used to get that a lot for things like that. I think I still do for other things, but yeah, it was a very confusing dynamic. Yeah.
When you go to big gatherings with kiddos and things like that.
Yeah, for like there are just certain there's certain communities I think where you want a pencil? Where I think those kinds of attitudes are just very strong. Like there's sort of some people feeling like they're superior to you, or like you're as if you're doing something wrong when you're not. I mean, the example I just gave was a physical thing, right? It's not, or if you're a Baal you grow up with, a religious lifestyle and you somehow don't fit in. Sometimes there's just a lot of negativity that comes straight to you. And it's hard
so actually we're going to learn about, I think I get you now what you're saying, and we're going to actually learn about it, but I will answer you that even though we didn't get up to it yet, just because it's good to answer you now that when you asked it. So we have to learn from Yosef to be like Yosef. So it says that the Ayin Hara did not rule over Yosef. This is why people say when they want to be protected from Ayin Hara, Ben Porat Yosef. You heard that? And because Yosef was above the eye. And one of the reasons he was above the eye was because he didn't care about what other people thought about him. He was so strong in himself. Like he had so much self-confidence, being the second in charge from Pharaoh. He was so strong that he wasn't affected by other people's opinion about how other people looked at him. It was not important to him. So one way that we can really be above it is by not caring like so much and just thinking and focusing on, I'm doing, what's my job? How can I help? How can I serve Hashem in this situation, in any situation? And try not to focus on, these people think this, or these people, feel that, and they're saying that, and they're looking this, they're looking that. One way, and we're going to see more ways, okay? But this is one way, just to answer you now, is to be above it, to feel like, it's like water off a goose's back. They can think what they want. I'm with Hashem here, and it's not going to affect me. And you can also say that, Ben Porat Yosef, Ben Porat Ale Ayin. So it's in your text sheets, in the sheet that you got. There's this thing to say. That really, really helped. So, okay, I think I'm going to get going because I think everything that we're going to learn now is going to answer some of these things, both for Esther and Leah, and maybe some of the other ones that didn't voice your question. But with keeping the questions in mind that were already voiced, it will make the class more interesting, because we're going to try to see from the class how it's answering the questions that were asked. Okay? So last time we learned about how we are surrounded by energy, both positive and negative. And we learn about numerous examples written in the Torah, and some of in the Talmud as well, about how like the people in the Torah would take precautions to protect themselves from negative energy. And so from going back to that, they can also answer you. They were careful, first of all, not to flaunt their assets. They're very careful about that, if you remember, Leah. Like the tribes did not go in the same gate, and you don't, and several other things like that, so that not to call attention on themselves, not unnecessary attention. But then at the same time, you don't want to go too much to the other extreme, that you are not even willing to lead the tefillah, let's say if you're a man, or give a speech because you don't want to call attention to yourself. That's too extreme, because if you could serve Hashem by doing something that may cause attention to yourself, you shouldn't stop serving Hashem because you're concerned about Ayin Hara. But whenever calling attention to yourself is not a mitzvah, then it's good to keep low profile. But whenever it's a mitzvah, like, you have something to share that no one else has, and you want to have your voice heard because it's going to benefit the people that you're going to tell it to, even if it's giving a speech in front of a lot of people, even if it's giving a class on the internet, you make yourself vulnerable. You have a lot of pictures on the internet, you make yourself vulnerable. So you have to do it just for the mitzvah, because it says whoever is doing a mitzvah will be guarded. Whenever, shluchei mitzvah enam nizukin. Those who are on a mission to do a mitzvah will not be damaged. We see that all the time, the shluchim, the Chabad, how it's amazing. They go out to places where you would think the kids would for sure not stay religious. There's no religious kids for them to play with. And we see like they have the most amazing kids, because shluchei mitzvah enam nizukin. Keep that in mind. Whenever it's to do a mitzvah, we don't have to worry that we are out there in the limelight. And I know people who are so afraid of Ayin Hara, they won't do these mitzvahs that they can do. They won't give a speech, then they won't lead the davening, and they won't, do anything that will make them stand out. And that's in the other extreme. Okay, so we discussed how to protect ourselves from negative energy, and we practiced two exercises for protection. One, the light bubble, and the other one was the cocoon. No, the other one was the samach. Sorry, the cocoon is today. And so today we'll learn and practice more protective exercises, and we're also going to learn about the power of the eye of Tzaddikim, and also how protecting oneself from negative energy, how it implicates actually on halakha. Today we're going to learn how we see it in halakha. Last time we learned how we see it in the Chumash and a little bit in the Talmud. And finally, we're going to practice some exercise how to be less susceptible to Ayin Hara, specifically delineated in the Talmud. And also I use some from my friend Rivka Levi's book, Talk to God and Heal Your Life. So really amazing, synchronized. The first thing in my notes is about the power of the eyes in Parshas Vayera, which is the new Parsha coming up. And it starts, the first pasuk in Parshas Vayera starts, Vayaelav Hashem, Hashem revealed himself to him, that's Abraham, Ba'alonei Mamre, in the oaks of Mamre, V'hu yoshev petach ha'ohel, while he's sitting in the opening of the tent, Kachom Hayom, in the heat of the day. And he lifted his eyes and he saw, behold, there are three people, nitzavim alav, like standing above him. V'yar v'yaratz likratam, and he saw, and he ran towards them, mipetach ha'ohel, from the opening of the tent, v'ishtachavu arza, and he bowed down to the ground, Avraham. So, this we know, this is Avram's third day after he circumcised himself. He's very weak, and Hashem made it really, really hot. That's why it says Kechom Hayom, in the heat of the day, because he didn't want to burden Avram with visitors, because Avram needed to rest. When you're 99 years old and you have a circumcision, it's an operation that you need to rest from. So, nevertheless, Hashem saw that Avram was so upset that no guest came. That was more pain for him. It was less rest for him not to have guests than to actually have guests. So he sent him 3 men, which were really 3 angels. So it says here, Abraham looks, he lifts his eyes and he sees the 3 men. And then it says he saw and he ran. So what's repeated here? I know you don't have it in front of you. You had to have been very attentive to me. Okay, I'm going to read you again. He raised his eyes and he saw 3 men standing by him. He saw and he ran towards them from the entrance of his tent, bowing down to the ground. What's repeated? Are you all muted?
He saw and he ran.
What? Yeah, go ahead, Leah.
That he saw and he ran.
Yeah, that he saw. The seeing is repeated. First he saw, and then he saw and he ran. Well, the ran is not repeated, that's new, but the seeing is repeated. Okay, so why is it repeated? Perhaps we could say, this is from Or HaChaim HaKadosh, who was Rabbi Chaim Atta, 1696 to 1742. He was a friend of the Arizal in Tzfat, also in Yerushalayim before that. So maybe some people want to say that only the second time he saw, then he noticed that there were angels, and he saw a deeper place. But that can't be, says the Or Chaim, because Avram was such a high level, he already saw first time that there were angels, he knew it. Okay? But, so why does it say that Avram looked again? Because when he looked again, he looked at the healing angel Raphael. And we saw the healing angel Raphael, he was immediately healed from his circumcision. And that's why it says he saw and he ran. Before that, he couldn't run. He was in pain. He was like weak. He couldn't run. He had an operation. But once he looked, the second time he looked at the angel Raphael, he was healed. Raphael, which means the God, the healing angel. It is no wonder that then he bowed down in his greatest respect after experiencing this amazing healing. So that from this week's parsha, then we learn the power of the eye. Like you could see something, and you could be completely transformed. Like Avram saw the angel, and he was transformed from like a sick, weak person to a strong, youthful, vigorous person that could run. So, and especially Tzaddikim have developed the eye as a channel for Hashem's will to emanate into the world. So there's numerous examples in the Talmud about the power of the eyes of the Tzaddikim. And last time we did talk about Sarah's eye and what she did with her eye and how she was able to separate Yishmael from Abraham so that Abraham's Gvura could be born in the world, and also so that Yishmael could become who he really was. So, but there's also stories where the tzaddik, has set an Ayin Hara on other people, on evil people, and they actually killed people with their eyes. There's several stories like that. Even, this famous story about Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai that came out of the cave, and he looked at the person that wasn't learning Torah, and that person just like burned up. So, so that Hashem didn't really want that, but sometimes that's it was what was meant to be. And here's the story about Rav Sheshet, who was blind. And once all the people went out to see the king was supposed to become, and then there was a Sadducee, a Sadducite, someone who only believes in the written Torah, not the oral Torah, like someone who would mock the rabbis. And so he would mock Rav Sheshet, and he says to him, the whole, like the complete pitchers, they go out to the river. But where do the broken ones go out to? He's alluding to Rav Sheshet that he's handicapped, he's blind, he's like a broken vessel. It's very not nice how he's talking. So Rav Sheshet replied, I'll show you that I know more than you. So the first troop passed by, and a shout arose. The Sadducee said, the king is coming. Rav Sheshet says, no, he's not coming yet. A second troop passed by, and again, when a shout arose, the Sadducee said, now the king is coming. Rav Sheshet replied, the king is not coming. The third troop passed by, and there was silence. Then Rav Sheshet said, now indeed the king is coming. The Sadducee said to him, how did you know that? Why he can't see? He replied, because the earthly royalty is like the heavenly. For it's written, go forth and stand upon the mount before Hashem. And behold, Hashem passed by, and a great and strong wind rent the mountains and broke in pieces the rocks before Hashem. But Hashem was not in the wind. And after the wind, an earthquake, but Hashem was not in the earthquake. And after the earthquake, a fire, but Hashem was not in the fire. And after the fire, a still small voice. That's where Hashem is. When it was quiet, then he knew that's the king is coming, because the king is coming is a reflection of the upper king. And that's when it's a still small voice, not a big shout. So he didn't need to see to know this. He could hear. Usually blind people can hear better. They develop their other senses more to recompensate for their lack of vision. So when the king came, Rav Sheshet said the blessing is a special blessing you say when seeing a king. And the Sadducee said to him, you say a blessing for one whom you don't even see. And then it's what happened to the Sadducee. And some people say that Rav Sheshet cast his eyes upon him and he became a heap of bones, because he provoked these very great rabbis. Even though he's blind, he could still cast his eyes on him and cause, calamity. So you have to be careful with great tzaddikim, to be in awe of them, because there's power in them. So now I'm going to move to, okay, there are two different kinds of Ayin Hara. One is the gaze of a wicked person, and his intention is to cause harm, like it says in Pirkei Avot 2:11. The one casting such an evil eye or evil gaze suffers, and ultimately is cause of his own self-destruction. Some evil person and cast an Ayin Hara, it will boomerang on him, and the Ayin Hara will come back to him. And according to some opinions, such a gaze of an evil person does not have power over a Jew, because it says that the evil eye cannot harm the descendants of Yosef. And even though we're not necessarily the descendants of Yosef, we are spiritually the descendants of Yosef, because Joseph sustained all the Jews in Mitzrayim, and without Yosef we would have not be alive, we would have not existing today. So therefore, we, in a way, because we owe our existence to Yosef, who sustained our forefathers during the famine, therefore we can be considered spiritually Yosef's children. And just like the Ayin Hara does not affect Yosef, so the Jewish people have a level of being like Yosef that the Ayin Hara cannot affect us. But on the other hand, there is a gaze of the righteous, like someone like Rav Sheshet, which is so affected that it has a power to affect anybody, also a Jew. So today, most people are a mixture. Like when most people, if they give an Ayin Hara, they have some sparks of being a tzaddik and a righteous, and like the negative eye that they give is like for a reason, and the person in some way deserves it because they acted in a not good way, just like the Sadducee was mocking Rav Sheshet. But so most of us are a mixture between tzaddik and rasha, and that's why we have to kind of protect ourselves and be careful. Okay. Okay, so now we're going to read text number 13. So I'm going to ask Shoshana to read that text number 13, because this is the beginning of class 2, because we continue. I put all the first 3 classes like in one document. Are you ready to read us? Text 13. Yes? You can unmute yourself.
Okay, one moment.
Yeah, that's good. We can hear you very good now. Excellent.
Okay. Text number 13.
Yes.
Hashem shall remove from you all sickness. Hashem shall remove from you all sickness. Devarim 7:15. Rav said, by this, the evil eye is meant. Rav once went down to the graveyard. He did what he did, and he said 99 died as a result of Ayin Hara, and 1 died. Get to the next page, 1 second. And 1 died through natural causes. Babylonian Talmud, Baba Metzia, 107.
Baba Metzia. Baba Metzia. Okay. So what does that mean? Okay, so what does that mean? Okay, in other words, first of all, it says, Hashem shall remove from you all sickness. So Rashi says, will take away from you the cause of all sickness, which is the evil eye. Because we see in text number 13, how many percentage? 99% of all sicknesses is caused by Ayin Hara. That's pretty severe. We don't really like to hear that, but that's